What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on a recent episode that I've seen with Jason Whitlock. And Jason Whitlock, they spoke about like black athletes and and the rise of like how white athletes are getting better. Like you're starting to see in I'm sorry, excuse me. In their opinion, you're starting to see like the rise of white athletes and white athletes playing roles in sports that you didn't traditionally see white athletes play. Like for instance, they're going to mention like a guy who's playing cornerback for a major college or university. Skip Bayless is going to mention that. Um, Also, another example of you got what's the guy that's the running back for the 49ers? Usually you don't see like white guys being running backs. They also use Caitlin Clark as an example as a white athlete who is like stepping up and is being a standout ball player. Then you have like at the college level, you got kids like Cooper Flag, Dalton Connect. I think he's a really good basketball player. And so they're um, now Skip Bayless says that white ball players are benefiting from playing with black athletes. And so that's what's benefiting them. And that's what's making, that is what is making them better ball players, better athletes. Um, Jason Whitlock has a different take on it. And I'm gonna let you listen to what Jason Whitlock said, and I kind of really agree more so with Jason Whitlock than I do Skip Bayless. Not that I think that Skip Bayless is wrong, but I think like what Jason Whitlock's saying about like the black athlete, I think it kind of makes some sense. But I'm gonna play what uh what both of those guys say, Skip Bayless and Jason Whitlock, and I'm a comment because this is something that I spoke about before on previous podcasts.
Fighting whites in sports, from Cooper Flag to Caitlin Clark to Cooper DeJean to Matt McClung. Anyway, Skip Bayless had something interesting to say about how white players have enhanced their games because of the excellence of black athletes. Play the clip.
These players are doing things white players haven't been able to do in a long time. I have constantly pointed out that black players in football and especially in basketball have consistently proven to be, for the last 50 odd years, generally better than white players. Hasn't bothered me a bit that the NBA I have fanatically loved has been as high as 80% black players. Hey, if black players are the best players, I just wanted to see them play. I certainly never needed equal representation for white American players. I don't want to make too much of it, but I always say what I see without fear, and this is what I'm seeing right now. This hit me late Saturday night after I watched Mac McClung win his third straight NBA dunk contest. Unbelievable. And I started thinking about what Caitlin Clark is doing in women's basketball and what Cooper Flag is doing in men's college basketball and what Cooper DeJean is doing at cornerback in the National Football League. We are suddenly seeing things from white athletes that 5 years ago I would have bet a lot of money against. It just seems like the long-term greatness of black athletes has forced some white athletes to just evolve, to literally rise up or fall by the wayside. I love that. Me personally, I think this is great for sport.
People ask me all the time, Chris, if you.
All right, so while this little commercial is running, I think part of the situation is when it comes to the NBA, I don't so much have an opinion on the NFL. I think I'm not going to talk too much about the NFL, but in the NBA and in basketball, the thing is like, and I spoke about this in other videos. Basketball has been watered down. It's you only have basically two positions in basketball. You got small forward, and you got the two guards. So it's more of a finesse sport. So it's not as physical. Basketball is not as physical as as it used to be in the past. So you don't have like rim protect, big athletic, strong guys in the paint. So that makes a difference too. And so, but I'm gonna get back to the video and listen to what else they have to say about the rise of the white athlete.
What do you think of Skip Bayless's theory there, Steve?
Well, Skip, you're still invited to the cookout. With that said, I don't disagree with much. I don't think it was that big of a deal, but I don't disagree with them really at all. It's something that we've said for a very long time. I remember there was a great story that Larry Bird basically developed his game during his hiatus in between Indiana and Indiana State. He would play with a lot of black players on a playground where he was working, and that's how he developed his game. There was a great story. One time they lined up, and he went over to a player and said, "This is an insult. Tell your coach, do not have a white guy guard me. We're not doing this." He thought it was an actual insult. But, there have been other great white dunkers. There's been Tom Chambers, who was actually one of the best ever at it. Brent Berry won the title, I think, in 95. That must have been a down year, right? And it is true there have not been a lot of white cornerbacks the last 30 years. There's Jason Sehorn. There's been a couple of, I remember Scott Case was one late in his career with the Cowboys, won a Super Bowl. Yeah, but I do wonder, do white athletes now say we have to be specifically better and more athletic because of black players? Or are they just getting more year-round training that enhances their athleticism? I think that's the question that I would have.
You need to go to the bathroom. Go.
All right. So the one guy says that that the white players are, it's probably not as much of a big deal to him as the white players are probably getting like more year-round training. And I think like to his point, what I would have to say to his point, black players and white players have been playing together for years, all the sports. And then a lot of times you do have guys like Larry Bird who will play with black players in order to get better, right? Or to challenge themselves, to be able to get used to playing with like that type of speed and athleticism. So that helps out. That helped out Larry Bird. Another guy who played White Chocolate. Well, what was the guy? White Chocolate. Jason Williams. I liked his game because his game had some. His game. Just had a good game. He could play with anybody, anywhere, and he played. And you could tell and look at him and tell that he played around and with a lot of black people. So it's some truth to that. Like you can play in those, in those environments, and then benefit from that. Also, I remember when I was young, and we played in the city. And during summer league, we used to have summer basketball leagues in our community. And the white parents and stuff would bring their kids down to our leagues so their kids can play basketball with us, and so their kids can get get used to playing with kids and get used to playing in different environments. So I can see your point right there too, right? And I can see his point right there too, that playing with those kids, playing with different kids in a different environment, can help you and help your game get better. And so, I get his point with that. But I want to get into I want to hear what Jason Whitlock had to say about it, because I think Jason Whitlock makes some points, really good points too.
Steve, I think you're wrong, and I think Skip Bayless is wrong. And I said this yesterday. And by the way, I want to shout out former Ball State white cornerback Jesse Neal. He played a lot of nickel for us in the 80s. Yeah, Jesse Neal, white corner for Ball State.
80s.
On a very good 1988 team that started out 6-0. Anyway, on a more serious note, Steve, this is about two-parent homes. Two-parent homes produce superior product, period, end of story. Bitcoin isn't going anywhere.
All right.
So what?
So while he's doing his promotional tour on his show, I I said this before, that two-parent households, when you think of all the great athletes and entertainers, they mostly come from two-parent homes. You got Serena Williams and her sister Venus Williams. You got Michael Jordan, had two-parent home. Michael Jackson, Tiger Woods, Magic Johnson come from a two-parent home. Kobe Bryant also come from a two-parent home. So it's two-parent homes are very important when it comes to superior athletes and superior entertainers. So I agree with that. And I'm gonna get back into what Jason Whitlock has to say, because I agree with what a lot of Jason Whitlock had to say.
Sports, there's so much money in sports that parents are now like, hey, my kid can get a scholarship. My kid can get name, image, and likeness money. My kid could make it to the pros. And there's generational wealth in there where parents are like even more invested in the development of their kids as athletes. And because they see that big pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. And in
All right, so let me stop it right there. It's a lot of truth to that. I was just having a discussion with my daughter, right? And I was telling her that when I was growing up and we played basketball, I played in leagues, and you never see, when I was playing in these leagues, you never seen any parents, you hardly ever seen any parents in the stands cheering their kids on, or like when we used to play in these different like recreation leagues and stuff like that, you never really seen any parents. And it was just all kids and their friends. You know, we would go from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, just playing different teams and stuff like that. And you never seen you didn't see the parents. And then once people saying that, like, what kind of money that you could make off of it, then that's when you started seeing parents participate. Really, and like I said, the white kids used to come to our neighborhood, and they were coming from two-parent homes. So they would come to our neighborhood and they would play basketball with us during the summer leagues and participate, right? And most of those kids was coming from two-parent homes. But then once you started bringing in like trainers and stuff like that, the average inner city kid that come from a one-parent home cannot afford that. You know, they can't afford the trainers and the nutritionists and stuff like that. So this just raises the level in basketball, especially basketball. Like baseball has already been phased out in the inner city. Baseball has already been phased out. So that, that's been like farmed out to like the Cubans and the Dominicans. Those guys are playing baseball. Like black kids really not playing baseball no more. But when you look at basketball, like basketball, because all you needed to be basketball is, you get a ball and you go to the court and you just work on your game. That's how it used to be. But then once that big money came, and then, people are training and you got nutritionists, like I said, and then you got the AAU circuit and all of that stuff costs money. Now the poor inner city kid kind of gets they will get left behind because they don't have the resources to um to really to keep up with that. So once it's ante up, once there's more money in it, there's no they're at a disadvantage. That's why, for instance, like most black people don't play tennis. We don't play golf because or we don't do like ice skating and stuff like that. Or and typically and you see Simone Biles do the what is it? The what she do? Gymnastics. But for the most part, we didn't participate in those sports because those sports took money. And if you don't have like that type of disposable income, then you can't participate. You can't get the training. You can't get the tutelage that it takes to get great in those sports because it takes years and years. And then, that's a lot of money, And so now basketball is becoming the same way. I don't say so much about football because yeah, I won't say so much about football because you always have, like, from time to time you have a white guy who play cornerback. You can have a white guy who goes running back. Mike Allstott, John Riggins. I forget the guy who played for the 49ers now, but you're gonna have like the occasional, sometimes like white guy standout running back. Um, for football teams and stuff like that. But basketball is becoming a sport where as though it take more money, more disposable income, more resources, and more training. So that's going to phase out some kids who could, like, for instance, like Allen Iverson come from a single parent home. So also Kevin Garnett come from single parent home. So if you have athletes like that, that's basically those guys hit the genetic lottery, right? It's not that their mother, Allen Iverson mother was like participating in his, having him deal with trainers and stuff like that. Kevin Garnett mother didn't even know he was playing basketball until, you know what I mean? This Kevin Garnett was locally, he was a playground legend, and his mother basically didn't even know it until, word got back to her that he was that dude in basketball. As a matter of fact, she told him that he wasn't allowed to play, so he snuck and played. And so basically, basketball players used to be able to get away with that. And so the best basketball players, like I said, most of them guys came from two-parent households. Whereas though, they can afford like the five-star camps back in the day or the Nike camps back in the day, right? Now it's it's up the ante even more. I remember, like, I had a few friends in my neighborhood who was able to go to five-star camps, Nike camps, and stuff like that. But I couldn't, my mother couldn't afford to send me to a Nike camp or a five-star basketball camp. That was the thing when I was coming up. But it's even more competitive now because of the money that is in it, and the parents. You got the people from the suburbs who can afford to do that kind of stuff. They have the disposable income, whereas though they can do that kind of stuff, and that makes a difference. So I'm gonna get back to what Jason Whitlock is saying, because Jason Whitlock makes some good points.
In order to properly support a kid with all the travel that goes along with AAU basketball, that goes along with baseball travel teams, that go along with 7-on-7 skills deal in football, you need two parents. It's not a single mama situation. And when you start running Christians out of sports and it becomes super secular, all those Christians that thought, hey, I'm going to get into coaching as part of my ministry, as part of my give back to the poor community. There's less of that. I believe if we looked at the data, there's less than that. And more of the burden falls on parents. And two parents are in a much better position. Two parents married, a couple is in much better position to shepherd their child through the developmental process of sports. And that's why you're seeing the rise of white athletes, because more of them come from two-parent homes. That's what I think is happening.
All right, so I agree. I definitely agree. It's to the point now, like I said, that it's because of the money situation. You need the ante. They up the ante as far as being able to get your kid to the next level. And if you think about it, it's so much money in it that you have basketball players who are now investing, they have like an inside track. Like once they play in the league, you got dudes like Matt Barnes, Carlos Boozer, Rajon Rondo, Chris Paul. Like their kids is coming up and playing basketball because of so much money that's in it. So just imagine if Rajon Rondo was your father, right? Or Chris Paul was your father, and he played. Number one, he played in the league. Number two, he has the money to be able to get you trainers, get you nutritionists, make sure you know what I mean. He can afford to send you to the right school. Look at Steph Curry. Steph Curry and his brother Steph and Seth. They're in the league. Their father played in the league because of the investment that his father was able to make in his kids. And so if you're a poor inner city kid, man, it's like and you up against somebody who had those type of resources, and you got your mother, you almost gotta hit the genetic lottery like a LeBron James, or like a Kevin Garnett, or you gotta be like an Allen Iverson. You gotta hit that genetic lottery, or you don't stand a chance really if somebody else has the resources and the disposable income to put their kids in these type of programs that can get them to that next level, because all it is an investment. That's exactly what it is. It's an investment. and Matt Barnes and Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo, Carlos Boozer, Carmelo Anthony, Kenyon Martin, all those guys see that as being well worth it. Gary Payton, you see a lot. It's an investment to have that second generation, have an opportunity to make that kind of money playing a sport. And so single mothers really don't stand a chance. Even if like, who knows, like, would Allen Iverson have been able to make it to the league? And Allen Iverson's a superior athlete in basketball and football. Well, would Allen Iverson, like in today's age, will he be able to make it to the league? Without, or be able to compete without getting those type of he competing against kids who got those type of resources. I kind of think so, because Allen Iverson and Kobe, not Kobe, but LeBron James come from a single parent home. They are like those kind of guys, like hit the genetic lottery, right? LeBron is just exceptionally big, fast, and talented. Allen Iverson, I think, is exceptionally just exceptional. He's just a generational type athlete. So I think those kind of guys will make it. But if you're the average guy, and don't nobody take a really investment in you or take an interest in you in your game, then yeah, you don't really stand a chance. But now, now on, to get into the league, you really don't have a chance. And so that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. I want to know what you think about, this video and the statements that were made. And so with that being said, I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.